give me peace. Heaven holds a sense of wonder, and I want it to be that I get caught up when the rage subsides. Choke the flower till she cries no more. Say all beauty, I'm resting for more. Heaven holds a sense of wonder, and I want it to be that I get caught up when the rain subsides. Help this longing comfort me. I can't hold it all in if you won't let me. Heaven holds a sense of wonder, and I want it to be that I get caught up when the rage subsides. In this moment, I am sinking. In this silence, in this moment, in this silence, I believe. In this moment, I am sinking. In this silence, in this moment, in this
What's up? Welcome to the resistance.
Follow me, yeah, let's go to the sand, the purest sand, into the sea, yeah, let's go out beyond the water's edge, far out past the coral ledge, underneath the diamond dancing nights. Chase the world from far below, silent sleeping indigo, drifting down to the endless night. yeah, let's go. Leaving reason far behind. Nothing here is cruel or kind. Only your desire to set me free. Let us lie here all alone, worn away like river stone. Let us be the sirens of the sea. Leaving reason far behind. Nothing here is cruel or kind. Only your desire to set me free. Let us lie here all alone, worn away like river stone. Let us be the sirens of the sea.
Let me know if you can hear us okay out there. And I'm going to bring the other two guys back on. All right, we're bringing them on, and let's see what's going on in the chat room. All right, well, hopefully you can hear us out there. Sound check 1, 2. Now it's not allowing them to come on. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, that's just great.
There you go.
Oh, here we go. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you, Robbie.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. So what you were saying, what do I think about the current situation? Well,
yeah, before that, let's make sure you can hear me too. Can you hear me?
We can hear you very well.
So sometimes we have to do a system reboot, but yeah, let it roll, Robbie.
Yeah. Well, I just might as well jump in with a breaking news story. Believe it or not, Tom Hanks has tested positive for coronavirus.
Yeah, and his wife.
And his wife. So, and we all know that he's under the spotlight. You know, same kind of Harvey Weinstein kind of situation.
Straight ahead. Woo woo.
Oh, we got an echo there coming through there.
Yeah, that was.
So, what I suggest is that be prepared for a lot of Hollywood movie stars and screen actors and music people suddenly coming down with coronavirus. I wouldn't even be surprised if Hillary and Bill Clinton both come down with coronavirus at some stage, because we know what's coming. Yeah, we know what's coming their way. As you said, this coronavirus situation is kind of spiraling out of hand, according to the mainstream media. I mean, whether people believe it's a hoax or whether it's real, the actual impact on the world economy is going to be absolutely nothing short of devastating. And, you know, we're seeing it unfold every minute of the day, as far as events, large gatherings, sports events, they'll be coming to a close pretty soon. We've got an entire country that's shut down, with Italy. I mean, how many millions of people are now under quarantine? It's absolutely unreal. But the thing is, we saw this coming. You know, we saw this coming a long time ago. We didn't actually, know it was going to be.
I gotta jump in here real quick, because this show was on Wednesday and it's Sunday, so every single school in Michigan has been closed and will not reopen indefinitely till mid-April. And the NBA season's been shut down, but I think we talk about that.
A virus or a pandemic, but we knew that there was going to be some kind of event that would start the ball rolling, because obviously we know what the outcome of the world change that they want, and we know that the ultimate goal is world government. Now, what they have to do is implement something that will fit in between Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030. Well, that's 9 years, 10 years. We're now in 2020. So now is the time that they need to have this crisis, whether it's real or whether it's engineered. It's not really even, it's neither here or there. The fact of the matter is that it is their perfect opportunity to roll out all of the things that they need to get this started. Yeah, over to you, Chris. Eric.
Yeah, go for it, Chris.
Well, I agree with the overall assessment that Robbie was making. This obviously is manufactured. We know that literally the coronavirus, there's a patent for it. Now, there's a lot of dispute on what that patent is for. I've read the patent. We've gone through the patent. You can do a Google search for coronavirus patent, and you can see exactly what it is and what exactly the coronavirus is. And it states clearly in there, it's a number of different viruses. It's SARS, it's MERS, it's porcine coronavirus, it's canine coronavirus, it's any number of different things. But one thing that I think is clear about this so-called coronavirus is that this is going to be a pretext for quote unquote universal quote unquote healthcare, universal vaccinations. They're certainly implementing what is known as continuity of government in the United States, which is a FEMA and Department of Homeland Security emergency plan. I mean, the emergency plan is in effect. It is taking effect right now. And here we go. This continuity of operations is a federal initiative directed by FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security. Continuity of operations as defined in National Security Presidential Directive, Security Presidential Directive 20, and the National Continuity policy implementation plan is an effort within individual executive departments and agencies to ensure that primary mission essential functions continue to be performed during a wide range of emergencies. This is the state of emergency, including localized acts of nature, accidents, and technologically or attack-related emergencies. So this was implemented on September 11th, 2001. So tonight, the quote-unquote President of the United States Incorporated went on television at exactly 9 o'clock to address just about nothing except for what he wished to say about this coronavirus. And then he was on for exactly 11 minutes. So they're coding this all in to 9/11. There's the cruise industry and the airline industry is telling us, well, hey, this is as bad or worse financially for us as 9/11. It's the same sort of thing. This was meant to trigger a global financial collapse, to reset the economy, to bring in all the corporate and bank and credit bailouts that are going to bail out the corporations and certainly not bail out any people. And this is the pretext because, hey, if they just explain, I mean, this the repo markets. I mean, I discussed this. I believe maybe the first time I was on this broadcast with you about the record high repo rates. That's the overnight lending rate, which should be exactly or very near the Fed funds rate. But it was 10 times that high one of the last times we spoke, just this year. That guarantees that there's not enough liquidity. That guarantees that a recession is already underway. And you look at the inversion yields, you look at every single verifiable economic indicator of a strong collapse in the economy, and it was there well before coronavirus even reared its head. Whatever that is. You know, now we know celebrities allegedly have this, but I don't know any real people who have it, and I know a lot of real people. So what we have is a pretext, which is going to trigger all these things. The Bank for International Settlements wrote something called the Green Swan. And if the word coronavirus were to replace climate change, the entire Green Swan book, written and released in January of 2020, January 20th, 2020, by the Bank for International Settlements, that gives you the playbook already. This is continuity of government, continuity of operations. They've brought the National Guard in to quarantine certain parts of the United States. It's clear what's going on. This is just another step in the Agenda 21, Agenda 20. It's the same to me. It's all the same plan, and they are escalating it, just like we were saying. Quarantines. Okay, we got quarantines. We've had them for years in different instances. Forced vaccinations. We've had them for years, but they're stepping up. It's just a concerted escalation, and it's the trigger. It's the heavy straw that broke the camel's back of this usury-based economy that is made up out of thin air and has no real value. And now they're going to keep this going by going like, hey, we need to bail these guys out, and it's not our fault. It's coronavirus's fault. But as we know, if coronavirus is anything, it was created in a lab at Fort Detrick, Maryland. So, I mean, it's a lot to cover, and apologies, but I just had to get all of that out because this is pretty obvious, and it needs to be interrogated on this level, in my opinion.
We have 2 hours, so we have plenty of time. That's why I wanted to make sure that I got on a broadcast that was 2 hours long, so we could get out all the information we needed to get out. Robbie Dee, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I'm in total agreement with virtually everything that Chris has said. I mean, it's absolutely it boggles the mind how people are. They're in a lullaby right now. They're in a lullaby, and where you mentioned Donald Trump, you know what my views on him are, and obviously through the research that we've done on Donald Trump, knowing that he is Jesuit trained, and we know that presidents aren't elected, they are selected. There are no exceptions. We know that every single president except Martin Van Buren was a Freemason, a high-level Freemason, and we know that the agenda is on course. And the thing that gets me, and this reminds me of our friend Jeff Lehman, rest his soul. You know, myself and Marte and all my other team used to spend hours trying to explain to him about Trump and how he is so much part of this agenda.
You and me both.
Yeah, and how he needs to snap out of it. And it was a shame watching it. You know, somebody who was in the truth, somebody who was very knowledgeable about a whole range of stuff. But as soon as Trump came onto the scene, he was caught in that spell. And the problem is there are millions of Americans that are caught in that spell. And it wouldn't matter if Hillary was in power. They'd have that same paradigm shift. And they are caught up in this. And they're going to be lullabied all the way to those FEMA camps. They don't realize that it's coming. You know, it is coming. Yeah. I've spent the last 6 years I've known more about your country than I do my own. The ins and outs of everything. You know what I mean? And running the Underground Resistance Network has given me a great scope of watching people. And to see that, you know, we knew it was coming. We knew the situation was going to hit some kind of breaking point at some point. But I didn't realize it was going to come this quickly. And how it seems to how it's snowballed into something that's, I mean, it's completely mind-boggling to people that don't understand. But to us, it's a frightening situation, not just for ourselves, but the people that are absolutely blind to the situation. Like, what is it that's going to take them to finally wake up and realize that there's something wrong, there's something on its way, the world situation is not as it's meant to be. And you know what I'm saying? It's hard to explain it to those people that are stuck in the world. I mean, the Bible explains this in perfect detail. How this condition is with people. The worse it's going to get, the more ignorant people are going to be. And I don't know what it is.
If I could just jump in real quick here, Robbie. With Jeff Hayes, the guy was sharp. He exposed false flags. He had information before.
Yeah, Jeff Lehman. Yeah.
Where'd you get this from? And what Jeff Lehman did, he did take it to another level, thankfully, though, because by riding around and getting out there in his community and putting those Trump bumper stickers on, he gave him a chance to have people come over and talk to him. And he could kind of ease them into things like 9/11. So he took it to a different level. But your average is just sitting back going, yeah, that's my president. And that's it. That's it. Right. So that's, right.
And it's just like everybody believed in the New World Order when Obama was in, right? But as soon as Trump appeared on the scene, they everything went out the window. Look at
the censorship. Do we have censorship like this? I'm not saying Obama's better, but censorship was not like this. It's great. I don't know if you know, Chris, but my station got nuked.
Yeah. I mean,
1 million views over 5 years gone. Well, I'm going through the appeal process. You can appeal more than once.
Well, good luck with that. I've been through that process.
It's a big.
I mean,
on the dice and hoping for snake eyes, but I don't think anything's gonna happen with it.
Well, I mean, to me, I've lost a number of channels going back, to channels I had starting in 2008 that went all the way to the beginning of 2017. And there were 3 million views just on that channel, and there were almost 2,000 videos. And then I've had at least a dozen more of just my content taken down. So I mean, they're going to censor. I mean, look who runs YouTube. It's Google. Look at who are the CEO and founders of Google. It's Larry Page and Sergey Brin. They are bloodline Khazarian or Ashkenazi KGB agents who came into the United States, or their parents were, excuse me, their parents were KGB agents, GRU agents, who came into the United States and then worked for NASA. So that's what do we have here? And I just want to be clear, because to me, what, you know, you're talking about the average person in America. I always think of this adage, and I make it my own, because I don't give a direct quote. Think about how feckless and ill-informed the average person is, and then think that half of them are even more feckless and ill-informed. So I don't care at all what anyone says. I'm telling folks what's going on. And I do know that there's an issue and problem with Donald Trump. I don't believe it's because he's a member of the Jesuit order. And if it is, I know that the Jesuit order is based on a bloodline, Khazarian, false, imposter, so-called Israelite. They don't even call themselves Israelites. They call themselves Israelis. But this is not to do with the Catholic Church, even though the Catholic Church is complicit. At the top, it is a bloodline. Who controls the money? Who controls the media? And it's not Catholic people, even though they follow a false religion.
We have to follow the money.
Right. And as far as Freemasonry goes, that's what's been co-opted. Freemasonry really stopped existing in 1722 when they basically said, oh yeah, we know what this was originally started as. This was originally started in the Old York Constitution of 926 as a contract with the King of England. And in 1722, they said, oh, we're going to get rid of all the ancient stuff. We're going to get rid of that. And what happened that year? That's when they built the Great Synagogue at Duke's Place in London. That year, 1722, is when they unveiled it. Between 1700 and 1750, that the quote-unquote Ashkenazi population of the UK, which it's great to be on with somebody in the UK, because I don't know if you can see behind me, that's the coat of arms of the legitimate crown of England. And what we have now is verified on multiple levels to be infiltrated by this bloodline that we're talking about, that has absolutely nothing to do with the Levant region or the Israelites or the ancient Hebrews or the ancient pharaonic line or anything like that. So again, this is 10 steps ahead of the average person, but nothing else matters. There's a masquerade going on. This is a biological weapon. Who controls the military for the United States? Who controls the Congress for the United States? It's not Jesuits and Catholics. They might be very well. In many cases, they are the fronts. But behind it is this Chabad-Lubavitch mafia, this Chabad-Lubavitch organized crime network. That's who's got their hands up Donald Trump's oversized derriere and plays him like a puppet. Not the Jesuit order. And I can tell you that none of these individuals mean jack to me. I know that they're all imposters. So I say to all Freemasons out there, and I speak to lots of them all the time, hey, unless you're serving me, you are not a Freemason. It doesn't mean anything. You're just a member of a club that does silly rituals. And that's all you are, because the money controls everything. The simulation code controls everything. The 1-0-1-0-1-0-0-0-1-1-1. That's what controls everything. The binary code of 555. And so nothing else matters. I mean, I know this is like a cashless society. Cash is dirty now. Yeah.
Expand on that. The binary code of 555. That's
how we're all talking to each other, like we're in the same room, but we're not in the same room. It's just a simulation. So that's their form of mocking God and trying to simulate God, and even trying to simulate their betters and their superiors in this code, because when we go back to the real English common law, when we go back to Magna Carta, what does this one bloodline? It belongs to the king. It's the property of the king. This fake imposter synagogue of Satan Jews, you go back to the original common law, you go like, hey, these guys have been kicked out everywhere. Like, we gotta have special rules for them because they're so adept at prevarication and chicanery and equivocation, and they sweat and clip the coins to devalue. That's exactly what they're doing right now when they're lowering the interest rate and start again with this quantitative easing, and then yesterday putting $50 billion extra dollars into the repo market, and today putting an extra $25 billion into the repo market. That's what they're doing. They're what they've done this whole time as far as the economy goes. When the increase in the stock market, increase in the equities market is directly correlated with the increase in the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve Bank. It's exactly the same. And what does that do? It puts the money in the pockets of the rich and devalues the money that the average person works to get paid for. So now you'll see what they do when they shut down 60 million people in Italy and say like, oh, everybody's got to stay at home. And you think that would mean 100% economic collapse. But that just shows you that the worthless jobs that folks have out there, they're really meaningless, because at the end of the day, there's tens of quadrillions of dollars in circulation, and you have access to and I have access, and we all have access to very little of that, but that's enough money to pay for everything that could ever be bought or sold from the beginning of time until the sun burns out. Literally. And so that shows you the manipulation and how they can control this with the simulation code. They have simulated God. Sorry. Go ahead.
That is a great point. Go ahead, Robbie D.
Well, yeah, yeah. Where do I continue from that? I mean, yeah, the serfdom needs paying. I mean, as we know, there's two economies in the world. There's the fake economy that we see, and then there's the secret economy that's running in the background, and you never know where the two ever quite meet. It's but yeah, as you said, you know, they've shut down a whole country of 60 million people, and nothing seems to have had any effect. Over in the UK, we're at the beginning stages of this coronavirus outbreak, so. But we know that, you know, they're going to ramp it up over the next few weeks, and it's going to triple and quadruple, and then we're going to see the conditions that they're going to see in America. But well, we're going to see the conditions that we've seen in China. I mean, China seemed to get a pretty good hold on it. But you know, we were getting conflicting stories about what was going on. We were seeing various videos that were coming out of people that were being shipped off to makeshift hospitals that they managed to construct in a matter of days, and then we were getting stories about people, the numbers that were being manipulated about how many people are actually dying from this stuff, this so-called coronavirus, and how many bodies they were burning. And now we're getting reports that it's apparently on a decline at the moment, and they seem to be actually getting a handle on it. But you know, it's hard to tell. But what the one thing that I do know, and the one thing that I do stress with when I talk to a lot of people, is that, especially on a biblical level, is that all these nations that seem to have all these problems, and all these nations that seem to go to war with each other at whatever particular time for whatever rhyming reason, they're in collusion with each other. They've always been in collusion with each other because the world was given into the hands of the wicked. And this is how they're going to get their world governments. People need to understand that the New World Order has always been here. Yeah, it's been here from time immemorial. What they are trying to achieve is a one world order. And this is where people seem to get confused between what is the New World Order and the One World Order. Well, you know, it's quite plain that their goal is to have this cashless society which like you said, they're going to, which they already have said that the money's dirty. Yeah, we need to get the money out of circulation. It was quite a clever little ploy that they actually threw in last week saying about that. We knew that was coming. Yeah, a lot of people don't seem to understand, the everyday normal, the sheeple that run around all day, that don't really understand any of this whatsoever. They'll agree. They'll go, yeah, well, the money is dirty. So what's the solution? Well, we know that we already have chip and pin, and we have also, Apple Pay and all different kinds of electronic means of paying. What people don't also understand is that is the first step to the what is it, not the RFID, but the step that leads to it, and we know eventually that they're going to want to chip everybody, because they're going to say, well, your phone could get dirty, you can get diseases on your phone, and the Bitcoin thing might, it's not 100% safe. So the best thing that we can do is either put it inside your body, or we'll put it on your body, which is the electronic tattoo. And we know that it's not a conspiracy theory, because we know that we've seen that the media are now been playing it up with certain companies that have volunteered to actually take this chip. And we know that certain places in Australia, they're actually queuing up for this. So we know at some point pretty soon, they're going to either make it trendy enough for everybody to queue around the corner for it, or they're going to put people in a position where they're going to have no choice. We know that the Tavistock mind control that is being employed right now for little stupid things like toilet roll. People fighting over. Can you believe that? People fighting over toilet roll.
Dude, we did a show last week, Robbie Dee, on that, and we were going on eBay looking because we wanted to have facts to confirm it. And indeed, there was toilet paper rolls being sold, one toilet paper roll for $1,000.
I can very much believe that. They're either fighting over hand sanitizer or toilet roll. And the question is, when did washing hands suddenly become trendy? Didn't people wash their hands before then, or what? They don't realize that everything that is being told to you, everything that causes you to cause a panic or whatever, is coming straight out of the Tavistock Institute, and it's been going on for decades and decades. Bill Cooper had, he said it quite plainly and rightly so, that nobody has ever had an original thought in their head, and they never will, right? And that's all down to Tavistock and, down to these think tanks. These people control every aspect of your life. If they tell you that your house is on fire, you will believe it before you actually go and check.
Too, isn't it, Robbie? It's working like a charm. Problem, reaction, solution.
Exactly.
Exactly. Everybody's freaking out. There's people that just real quick. There's a girl I train, and she's more of a leftist. She's kind of clueless about a lot of things, and she used to make fun of me and call me a doomsday prepper. Right now, I said I'm not a doomsday prepper, because the doomsday prepper, they have bunkers and such. But I have a 3-month food supply. I have water. I have the essentials that I need to get through a 3-month period: guns, bullets, and she has nothing. But this week, she's always laughed about it and said whatever. This week, she started wondering if you had to self-quarantine for 14 days or 21 days, what she would do, because she's only got a week worth of food. And I said, what do you say to that? I told you so. It's fun because we're watching this unfold around us. We're watching people fall right into the trap they want people to fall into. I didn't know about what you just said earlier, Chris, about what they're doing with the stock market. I haven't really been following it, but that's mind blowing that they could shut down the entire job industry in Italy and nothing happens to the economy. Great points.
Yeah, and one thing that before I forget about what happened to the stock market on Monday morning, and I kind of referenced it on my Friday show, talking about the fact that back in 2015 they just would stop trading if the indices were plummeting too quickly. because they would go down to zero because the algorithm would just, act upon itself. And what they did this Monday, and there's something called the Plunge Protection Team, which is it's a official unit that keeps the economy going. Not to be confused, but it acts in a lot of the same ways.
Plunge Protection Team.
The Plunge Protection Team. Let me Google it real quick so I can be accurate. I had just Googled arbitrage, which is, if you want to find it, the definition for that, that's how everything works. That's the only way any money is being made. But yeah,
use that one in Scrabble too. It'll amaze your friends.
So basically, they go in and when the market goes down to a certain level, when the selling starts going into a frenzy, they basically pull the plug.
They just pulled the plug on the New York Stock Exchange, or on the Shanghai Composite, or on the DAX, or any of the global indices. They do them to all of them. But the New York Stock Exchange, that happened Monday, where in the morning they just stopped the trading, and it doesn't go back to the exact same point where it's like they started it at a level that they decide that they're going to put it at. So you can tell it's fake just on that level, because it's not allowed to work as it's supposed to work. Because if it did, the whole thing would go. Okay, here's Plunge Protection Team. Is a colloquial name given to a working group on financial markets. In March 1988. Sorry, this always happens. In the wake of the stock market crash of 1987, then President Ronald Reagan created by executive order the President's Working Group on Financial Markets, also known as the Plunge Protection Team, not to be confused with the Global Stability Board of the Bank for International Settlements, or I should say Financial Stability Board, the FSB, which is the highest legal authority on planet Earth. And that's something called the Financial Stability Board of the Bank for International Settlements, which there is no jurisdiction. I mean, there's a
known as the IMS, right?
They're the bank that pays the bank.
The IMS, right?
BIS.
Yeah.
The central bank of the central banks.
Yeah.
Now under a common law, under their commercial code, under a uniform commercial code, under the UCC, there is no higher authority than the Financial Stability Board. They tell the Attorney General, and have told, not just in concept, but in action, have told the Attorney General of the United States exactly what to do. I suggest everyone watch a documentary called All the Plenary's Men. And this is a little dated, but it describes, not very dated. It's, it references a lot of the.
I'm going to type it into the chat room.
All the plenaries, like plenary, and then plenaries, like apostrophe S, men. All the plenaries men. And this, besides something that I'm a little biased on, something called the International Banking Cartel, besides that, that's the first step of comprehending the Bank for International Settlements. That's a 3-part series from the documentary from Press TV. International Banking Cartel, Press TV. That's hard to find on the internet, but you can still find it. And all the plenaries men. It describes how all of this works. This is everything that you see that's going on in the economy right now is a function of something called Basel III, which is the accord agreed to by all the central banks of the world, including Iran, including North Korea, because they are subject to this, even though they are not signatories to it. So
got about 2 minutes, just 2-minute warning.
Okay, so I don't want to take up any more time going into the break. But
get it up. I take notes when you and Robbie Dee come on. Actually,
plunge protection team, they cut off the trading, that this is a reset, just like they reset it back, you know. So when the AI algorithm is headed for 000, they stop it at 23,000 or wherever it was stopped. I'm not saying that, it's just a random number. And unplug it, stop trading, and then what do they do? Who knows? Who knows? What would have happened in that meantime? Who knows? That's like the ultimate mulligan about the most important thing. So that they don't do that when you're spending too much money at the grocery store and go like, yeah, you can keep buying food, but no more money's going to come off. You can keep buying and trading on the stock market, but nothing's going to happen. It's an absurdity, but it's one that must be pointed out as important things that happened this week with this coronavirus thing. They did it again. They unplugged the plunge protection team, came in, and you know, that's an excuse to talk about the Financial Stability Board of the Bank for International Settlements, who is behind all of this. All of this.
The IMS. And guys, we're going into break right now in 20 seconds. So we'll stop there. Hold your thought. Robbie Dee will come right back with it. And 2 and 2 on Revolution Radio, #1 listener supported radio station in the world. We'll see you in a sec.
Our first night. Sometimes the way that you act makes me wonder what I am to you. Sometimes I can't stand the way that I'm acting to be part of the things you do. Often I'll bet you put too much of your time like I'm stealing. And when I dream of the fear that you're leaving, I reach out and baby then you. Oh yeah. So many times I've asked you to tell me that I'm your girl. Time after time I needed a reason just to get inside your world. So many times have I asked you to ask me how it feels to love. And when this love seems the only conclusion, then I'm guilty of it, baby, then you. Oh yeah. Girl, your loving arms around me, and you whisper to me when you. Girl, your loving arms around me, and inside your arms I'm burning. Sometimes the way that you act makes me wonder what I am to you. Sometimes I can't stand the way that I'm acting to be part of the things you do. Often I've asked you for too much of your time, like I'm feeling. And when I dream of the fear that you're leaving, I reach out.
And we are back live on Revolution Radio, number one listener supported radio station in the world. We can only keep going and telling whatever we like, the truth, with your generous donations. So keep free radio alive. Dynamite show so far. This is awesome. Been looking forward to it. People know that when I'm very quiet and speak very little, the people I have on must have a lot of great stuff to say. And like I said, I'm taking notes. You're going to get history lessons here tonight, folks. And you've already started getting them. With that being said, I have you both muted while you were doing the commercials were on. So just unmute yourselves. And I think Robbie Dee, you were talking about something. Why don't you tell us what it was?
Yeah, we were talking about well, actually, it was something that Chris had mentioned about mortgage rates, how they're actually freezing mortgage payments in certain countries. They're about to do it in the UK. And due to obviously the situation with this coronavirus, and a very interesting discussion was brought off the back of it, where it falls into these Agenda 21, Agenda 2030 policies. We also know the goals of the Freemasons and the protocols of the elders of Zion, learned elders of Zion. And one of their planks is that to abolish all private property. It looks like that's they're taking the first step by telling everybody that that's okay. Well, you know, you don't have to pay your mortgage. It's all good. Yeah, you know, we've got your back. We've got you covered. We know where this is ultimately leading. You know, which brings me back again to the people that think that Trump is draining the swamp and he's going to put all these people on trial. Well, I mean, obviously something's going to happen. Yeah, but as we know, you know, in this false reality that they've created for us, there has to be a good side, there has to be a bad side. You know, the Hegelian dialectic, the duality that they have in this world, and we know that somebody needs to fall on their sword for this new world order. Yeah, this is also what gets me about the people that think that Trump is going to destroy the new world order. Well, we know what the Bible tells us. We know that there's going to be a one world government. So either two things happen. Either something goes very wrong or something goes very right. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, right. We know what's coming. We know how it's going to get there. Yeah. And we know that it's already begun. This beginning of this tribulation period of world governments and one world religion and one world currency and one world army. I mean, at the end of the day, why do they need a one world army for? Yeah, who's this one world army going to fight? Well, it's going to be us. Yeah, we're the enemy. Yeah, and people need to wake up and realize what is coming and what is already here. You know what I mean?
Guys, I want to take a right turn for a second here and then discuss what everybody's been discussing and get your views and opinions on what this coronavirus is. In the chat room, we got a really funny comment because we heard, the Tom Hanks and Rita, was it Rita Johnson Wilson, tested positive for the coronavirus. and Harry said, how do you test for a fake virus? So with that being said, Chris, what's your opinion on this whole thing going on here?
Well, I mean, I believe that there is a virus called the coronavirus because there's a patent for it. Whether that is what is spreading and making folks sick. Now, I've seen those videos in China. Now, some of them seem fake, and it was, brought up by myself and others that, hey, you got these ghost cities, which is, fitting in with the economic collapse thing where China has been raising money to build these cities that they don't have anybody to put in. And they're just uninhabited cities. Perfect place for movie studios creating an apocalyptic appearing pandemic virus. Now, additionally, I will say that there is no truth to the fact that it appears these folks that are being filmed in China and convulsing and vomiting up blood and then dying within a couple minutes, that is the coronavirus. I don't believe that is the case. Another thing I wanted to point out about the broad coronavirus is it seems strange that there has been extreme civil unrest in hotbeds of where the coronavirus had spread and was allegedly hitting the population hard. And I reference Hong Kong after all that unrest and after the
millions were in the streets protesting at the time.
Hong Kong, right? China and the connections, because there's definitely mainland connections to that so-called umbrella movement that was going on. And of course, we knew that Iran had just recently, allegedly, according to, I don't know this for sure, but according to international bodies, they had to kill thousands of their own citizens in order to put down a rebellion. And now all of a sudden the coronavirus is hit very hard there. Is this a cover? I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm saying, hey, is that why they're having all these body bags? Is this the excuse? Did they kill a bunch of people and now they're going to go back with cleanup work? I mean, we know that coronavirus was made in a military lab. We know that. It's verified. We know that even before this COVID-19, we know that SARS and MERS, that they were manifesting and creating these viruses in places like Fort Detrick, Maryland, which is the biological weapons headquarters of the United States Army. And those bioweapons labs are everywhere now. Your local college has one. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. No, I wasn't there. I think one of the places is in the UK, in the Purbright Institute as well. Where
that's the one who they applied and received the patent for coronavirus.
Yeah.
So they are the ones that received this. Now that's a crown corporation. For whatever that means, because that's all just a front on this usury system that we've already verified is all fake. It's all fakery. It's all simulation. It's all money magic. It's all hocus pocus. So yes, they are. Why do they have that patent? If you read the patent, it'll tell you why they have the patent inside. That's what keeps folks from learning anything, is that they just don't have the capacity to consume the information, or most likely they just don't consume the information at all. So it tells you why and how they're going to create this coronavirus that's going to be
They don't
patented.
even check the insert on the vaccines to see what's in it before they shoot it into their veins.
Of course. But this patent will tell you what's in the coronavirus, what's in the hypothetical patented coronavirus, and what's the purpose for this creation of this coronavirus. There could be any number of different things combined, because there's multiple kinds of coronaviruses, and any of them can fit this patent. Well, that sounds like a flu vaccine. That's exactly what it's like. So they can tell you, oh, no. That patent's not for COVID-19, because COVID-19 is a mutation. So it's never the same virus as what they created. That's why a flu vaccine doesn't work, because they're using old flu vaccines to combat mutated new flu strains, virus, a strain of the virus. Sometimes I get my words jumbled up, so I apologize if I'm not being clear. But so
no, you are, and rarely you jumble your words up. You're pretty concise.
Okay, well, thank you very much, because that is my ultimate effort. That's what I'm efforting for. So that's what we have here. That's what the words say. And so how they get folks out of it is when somebody like me makes a video and puts it up on the internet, they can't say it's false. They can say it's mostly false. And then they can give it a headline saying completely false. But all I'm doing is saying, here's what this says. I know how to read words. I do my best to comprehend what words mean, excuse me. And that's what's going on here. This is a creation for a vaccine. And this vaccine, like the flu virus, will certainly spread the symptoms, at least, but it's much more than symptoms. Just like when you get a flu shot, they go like, yeah, you may have symptoms like flu. Well,
but didn't we have the same? So didn't we have the same scenario when Ebola took hold in Africa? It didn't really take hold until the Red Cross turned up and started vaccinating people, and then it spread like wildfire. And we've got the case of this COVID-19, which has got the same basic structure as a HIV and cancer, which is basically all the same thing.
And with the Ebola, we have documented 3 shipments of colloidal silver that were blocked from coming to that country because colloidal silver is naturopathic, and the vaccinations are much better for you. They're way better for you. Get your vaccinations, kids.
Well, I'd like to point something out about silver, because a lot of folks they mock that, and I'm not here to sell silver. If by my statement, if anyone is to give it any credence, it would be to sell silverware, literally. But back during the Middle Ages, in England and in other places where they had these homes to take care of the elderly Templars, so it was like a old folks home for the members of the Knights Templar. There was a wonderment, even though they knew at the time why there was such an increase in the I guess the word I'm looking for is the treatment, the recovery of sick individuals that came under the care of these homes that were run by the Knights Templars for the Knights Templars. And that's because everything that they ate was off of silverware, silver plates, silver spoons, silver forks. So, I mean, I'd rather eat, and I don't, but, if I had my druthers and I had enough electronic digits, in a fake account, I certainly would eat everything off of silver. Maybe not even take colloidal silver, but silver does have healing properties, and there's no doubt about that.
Well, the proof's basically in the person who's telling you about it. And myself, anytime I get any type of cold, I take some colloidal silver. It's gone. In fact, I had pink eye one time, really bad. Put a little colloidal silver in my eye, and it was gone. So for me to think if something works, I got to try it myself. And that tells me we have so much activity going on in the chat room. It's crazy right now. Can you guys see it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, talking about the NBA and NCAA basketball tournaments.
They canceled the NBA season. Is that right? That's a fact.
Wow.
Well, hey, did that happen? I know that they postponed a game tonight between the Jazz and Oklahoma City, and that they announced. So I've got it on
Look
CNN.
at this crazy ass fear mongering going on here. Oh my goodness!
Well, they did it over here as well with the Champions League. They
can't
cancelled
cancel them all, can they? Because without the masses being distracted by the bread and circuses in the game.
They cancelled the game between Arsenal and Manchester City tonight. They played a PSG. I can't remember who they were playing in France, in Paris.
What?
That's like
behind closed
football.
That was one of the Spanish teams.
Football there.
Yeah. And the only game that was normal was the Atletico Madrid versus Liverpool at Anfield, which I did watch, and we got kicked out of the Champions League, which is a shame, really. But yeah.
And I see that some people in here they don't watch sports, and here's an interesting fact. If you look on the back of your ticket that you buy for your professional sporting events, I'm unsure if this holds true for the UK, but as far as the United States, on the back it specifically says for entertainment purposes only. What do you think that means?
Well, we know we know that all the major sports are all controlled, in some instances fixed, and we know that most of them are all started by Freemasonic fraternities and have been controlled to this very day. I mean, at the end of the day, you need that bread and circus, to distract the major populaces away from what's coming.
Do you see this right here? Me, the player they claimed was infected, was touching everything he could to mock the situation. He seems to realize it's fake too. That's an
I'd like to put my opinion in on what Eric was referencing, and that's what I used to see on the tickets when I was a NFL season ticket holder for the paying outrageous fees for seeing Washington Redskins rigged football games, and say, I mean there are if one were to delve in and say pretty much everything is Freemasonry based on the concept of building one's mind and everything, that certain sports and even baseball originated in England, not invented by Abner Doubleday, and same with football, soccer, rugby, all this stuff. It comes from there, and it does have certain Freemasonic numerological sequences and codes. I would say on a higher level, and this is all the same. It's a allegory for sexual congress, meaning more like a not a literal of a male and female copulation, but the sexual congress that comes in uniting the hemispheres of the brain, the male and female brains coming together as balance. So that gets into all these Masonic. That's the bottom line at the end of it. Controlling one's own mind. That's the religious allegory for everything. God is outside of us and God is inside of us. God created us, and our concept of God comes from one point, the pineal gland. That's why, you see all this, pine cone symbolism at the Vatican and all that other stuff. Because our pine gland.
That's what the spraying accomplishes. Is you have the heavy metals, you have the cadmium, the aluminum, the heavy metals raining down, directly affecting and retarding the pineal gland.
Sure. And that's why they, instead of us eating and drinking out of silverware, that they put cadmium and lead paint all over everything that we put in the dishwasher and drink our hot coffee and tea out of and all that other stuff.
But don't paint the walls with it because it might block the rays. But I regressed.
Right, exactly. So yes, the NFL was started. Every single one of the original owners of the National Football League was started by Jewish gambling interest. And I say the word Jewish just to make it easier for everyone to follow, because I had it marked out here because I love to get into the times of tribulation, because I know what that means. We're in a period between epochs, or a transitional period between the age of Pisces and the age of Aquarius. This is referenced many times in the Bible. This is astrological, astrotheological, the basis of all religion, but it's also prophetic. So we'll read. If I'm able, I ask permission, I should say, to read from Revelation 2:9. I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich, and I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. And I will continue with Revelations 3:9 and 3:10. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee, because thou hast kept the word of my patience. I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world, to try them that dwell upon the earth. Who is Jesus speaking to on that? Who is Christ? It's coming, and he's coming back, and he's a different type of character, because it's in this time. It's in the end of the age of Pisces. Who's he speaking to? He's speaking to the real Jews, the Israelites.
Real Israelites.
So,
The real
so there you
Israelites.
go. There you go.
Yeah.
It's and I will say this, and this may be unpopular in certain circles, but it is verified as fact when referencing things like 100 proofs of Israelites. Just do a Google search of that this has to do with the New Jerusalem. What's the New Jerusalem? That's America, not a United States Incorporated of a former fake synagogue of Satan crown corporation. That's why it says, we the people of the United States. What does that mean? It simply means those with a claim to specifically the crown of England. And that's why here in the United States, they say, oh, it's Scottish Rite Freemasonry. And there in the UK, they say it's Royal Arch. So they go like, okay, well, we know that the real King of England comes from the Scottish line. But originally, that Scottish line comes from what? The line of Nile of the Nine Hostages, the line of Saint Columba. That's the Irish line. So we know that all these guys sitting in Buckingham Palace, they're all imposters. And not only are they imposters because they don't have a specific Irish bloodline, we know it because they specifically have Khazarian and Southern European bloodlines attached to the Ashkenazi European line. That they're Europeans, they don't have anything to do with the Levant.
Let's just call them for what they are.
Look up the Khazarian Mafia and see what they are. I told you that I knew you and Robbie Dee and Chris Dorsey would have a ball together. And that being said, Chris and I have disagreed about things on the show. Robbie Dee and I have disagreed about things on other shows in the past, and that's okay. That's how we learn. But for the most part, we're in agreement about a lot of these facts, about a lot of the things. And what you get with these two is a history lesson, because if we don't learn history, we're going to repeat it. And I think that's what we're seeing.
I agree. And what I strive for is just to say what is happening or the way things are. Yet one may not like it. One may not like the fact that all of our law is based on the Bible, but that doesn't mean that it's not true. All of our law is based on the Bible. This is America, not the United States Inc. Corporation, and I find it laughable. Now, this guy Trump, that anybody respects this guy anymore. This guy could barely breathe on camera. He could barely get through 11 minutes of this important information that he flubs and completely drops the ball on. He's huffing and puffing and snorting like no cocaine addict I've ever seen in my life.
Just another puppet.
So how can any individual take anything that this guy says seriously in any way? Even if you go like, yeah, he's president of the United States of America Incorporated. That incorporation has been abolished. Once a corporation, once anything acts outside of its only reason for being, it's entirely abolished. So when everybody complains about every specific thing that the United States government does that's quote unquote unconstitutional, they're wasting their time, because everything it does is unconstitutional. And that tells you that there is no United States of America government anymore. There's a criminal corporation that is headed by a Ashkenazi mafia masquerading as the United States government, but there's no real United States government. It doesn't exist anymore. So where does the authority come from? What is the basis of all this? If we go like, oh yeah, let's just impose Freemasonic law, that's fine with me. That would be an improvement, because 99.9999% of Freemasons out there, they don't even know what Freemason itself is. They don't know that they're involved in a contract with a king that doesn't even exist anymore. And that after 1722, Freemasonry was just reinvented to coincide with the quote unquote Jewish takeover, those who say they're Jews but are not, of England and the rest of Europe. And ever since then, they have just done every bit of their effort to degrade and destroy their only rival. Who's their rival? Well, let's see. Who are they targeting? Who is that? I know who it is. And it's because the only threat to this criminal occupation is to restore. I'm a feudalist. I believe in feudalism. I see that folks can't take care of themselves, and they need someone to take care of them for them. But these guys are even worse. They know that people persons can't take care of themselves, and then they victimize them in acting or pretending to help them.
And segue back to the coronavirus that we were talking about earlier, Blasphemous Buddha says one thing that this is so-called pandemic does is stop commercial travel, which is one of the things in the new Green Deal. Also screw the economy.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. That's why I said, look at the book, The Green Swan. And it's 120 or so page book written by the Bank for International Settlements. And just like the protocols of the learned elders of Zion, just like the Bible, it will be illuminating when you replace the word climate change or climate crisis with the word coronavirus, because they cover all of that and more in the quote unquote green swan. Now, this is the black swan. This is the green swan. This is the gray swan that turned into the black swan. And that's what we have.
That's well said.
I'm gonna
bring it over to
gonna,
Robbie Dee now.
well, I'm gonna have to
before
bug out.
Robbie Dee, check this out,
Yeah,
Robbie. What's said here? I want to know your take on this before you start. Over here, somebody said it's a shame that Hillary didn't win because she would have woken far more people up and prompted more people to take action. And I've thought about that. I thought about what if she did get in? Would because obviously it'd be the worst thing that could happen, supposedly, but would there have been a change? Would there have been an American Revolution if she got in? Because there was a lot of patriots poised to do something if that occurred. What do you think?
Well, it's hard to tell, really, unless it really happened. But
it seems like we're just dragging it out with Trump. People.
No, I think Trump's doing a brilliant job of waking people up without even realizing it. You know, it's just, you know, if anybody's got any sense, they realize that they're being played by both sides. This Q thing.
I guess what I'm asking, Robbie, do you think that you know, perhaps more people would have woken up because of the amount of dirt on Hillary Clinton, how she's not in prison, we don't know, but the amount of whistleblowers that have come out, the amount of writing her book, she says she's a freaking witch. You know what I mean? I'm just thinking there's more dirt on her.
Well, at the end of the day, you know, they keep saying lock her up, and well, okay, which means she's going to get locked up then. When is she actually going to go on trial in Guantanamo Bay with the rest of the swamp and that? Why isn't it happening? I mean, yeah, it is going to happen.
Never.
We know, we know that somebody needs to fall on their sword when they make that contract, when they sign when they take these blood oaths, when they sign themselves off to Satan and they get all these things, and they have to do things in return. And we know that he takes more than he gives. Yeah, at some point, at some point, I'm gonna have to bug out because my battery will go. But I'm gonna take this opportunity to tell you about something that I saw on the internet 4 years ago, and it was removed from the internet. It was scrubbed from the internet not once but twice, and it was a theory, and it was called "Satan wants you to know that 9/11 was an inside job." Yeah, and when I came across this theory, it always stuck with me because it kind of describes what's happening right now. And basically, it describes about Satan and how, you know, he's a very intelligent person, and we know that his main goal is to be like the Most High. Yeah, he doesn't care about anything else, right? That's his main goal, right? But he's always got a plan A to a plan B to a plan C to a plan D. You know, being a highly intelligent person, not person, but entity, you know, wanted to spring forth the New World Order, would use 9/11 as its platform, as his platform, and leave so many breadcrumbs, right? So many plot holes and so many plot twists that eventually, that it would lead somewhere. And we know that these breadcrumbs have led so many truther conspiracy theorists and people that have tried to uncover what happened right from the beginning, all the way up to the 13 bloodline families of the Rothschilds. Now, this theory stated that at some point these bloodline families would be sacrificed for the New World Order, right? That the Satanism, the child trafficking, the pedophilia would all be exposed, right to the very top, right, and be basically put before the people, where everybody would recoil in horror, right? And then basically the Luciferian system needed to come through. So what they do was the thing about the satanic agenda is Satan likes to point his finger at himself and expose himself to what he's doing with his agenda, as well as boast. So in the theory would state that basically the whole world would be exposed to Satanism, to all the stuff that I've just mentioned, and everybody would basically unify in their horror and say, well, we can't have this. Yeah, it needs to be destroyed. So in effect, the New World Order would be destroyed. Yeah, and a new system would be put in place to protect from the New World Order. Little would they know is the system that they would be put in place to protect them would actually be the New World Order. Yeah,
Isn't it out here, Robbie?
You know,
It's here.
right?
I mean,
so
it's all around us.
So we've got Q, we've got Trump, right? We've got the swamp, right? Doesn't it seem to be playing out like what this theory suggests? And I can see why it got removed from the internet, because if this thing had actually caught hold, it would probably actually out what is actually happening now and has been for the last 3 years, right? So in effect, Satan does want you to know that 9/11 was an inside job, right? Because we know that at some point, you know, the people at the very top are going to be thrown to the wolves. And why is that then? Because they're not the people at the top, yeah? And they've served their purpose, right? And in order to bring this new world order, one world government, yeah, there's going to need to be some sacrifices. Some people need to fall on their sword, right? And this is exactly how it's going to play. And this is why I tell people, don't you sit there and think that Trump is fighting the new world order. He's a product of it. Always has been. Yeah, you're being played. You're in a false reality. You're in a false paradigm. You're like Q says, you're watching a show. Yeah, but the whole thing is a show,
Including Q.
Including Q. Including Q. And this is what boggles me, that people think that they're awake, but they seem to fall to the left-hand path or to
there's different levels there. I mean, there's totally different levels. And like you were talking about Jeff Lehman earlier, I think that people want to believe in Trump so bad that they're turning a blind eye to the obvious things. Like, hey, people, he's got his hands on this globe in Israel.
Yeah.
What do you need to see? I thought you were awake.
Yeah. always reminds me of that back in the 60s or 50s or 60s, that Egyptian, the president, I can't remember his name offhand, but he turned around and he said there will never be peace in the Middle East because the Jews left black and they came back white.
Was that Yasser Arafat? I think it was.
Yeah, no, it was before that, I think.
Oh,
he turned around and said that the Jews left black and they came back white. Yeah. Right. And he was being deadly serious. He was being deadly serious. And you know, I'm look, you know, at the end of the day, we know we
incorrect.
Sorry?
I would say that's patently wrong. It may be a statement, but I think this is a patently wrong statement. I don't believe
people named John, James, Paul.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's whoever fits under the curses of Deuteronomy 28.
It's not actually that. It's actually, you know, it's already been verified in genetic testing and you know, there's a documentary out called 100 Proofs the Israelites Were White, and it just takes all biblical and archaeological and bloodline DNA testing and verifies that fact.
It's going to get good, and we'll do point and counterpoint.
It'll have to be at another time because, as I said, my battery's about to go. I'm going to recharge. But yeah, it's been fun, guys.
Yeah, really thanks, Robbie.
Yeah, man, we'll do this again.
Yeah, I see you went down to just your avatar rather than save that. Thanks, Robbie, for coming on. If you guys want, we can do part 2 next week, and we can talk more about the discussion you guys were just having about the historical roots and then the truth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Or if not, at some point, definitely. All right. So catch you guys later.
Thanks, Robbie Dee. Detonator. Much luck. You want to plug your station real quick before you go?
Yeah. If anybody hasn't done so, get onto the Underground Resistance Network on Facebook and the Ultimate Hebrew Israelite Awakening page. And see you on there.
Thanks, Robbie Dee.
Bye, guys.
Peace. So I guess we can finish off with Chris Dorsey. Whatever you'd really like to finish off. Again, I'd like to hit on the coronavirus again, just because it's the hot button topic right now, and find out, what information's coming to you, because how do we know what information to truly trust? How?
Well, I mean, trust one's own judgment. I mean, that's what I would say. I mean, I go to, original sources, and I mean, I trust my intuition, and I trust these patents, these documents. When there's money involved, I trust that that's the operative factor, because certainly history has shown us that they care more about money, bottom line, than they do the safety of people. And actually is that they don't wish to have people be safe. They wish to have people be harmed and then make money off of that. So I trust the money moves as much as one can. I trust that to watch. I trust that there are patents for this. I trust that this is a biological weapon that that may be used as a economic
economic weapon.
Grim Reaper, yes.
These people these people that were shaking. It looked like a neurotoxin, not a virus.
Right. So I believe those people can be micro poisoned. I mean, I just watched another recent documentary. I've been really fascinated over the years with the case of what was that guy? Alexander Litvinenko, who was poisoned in London, allegedly by the remnants of the KGB, the FSB, the GRU, and that his poisoning seemed to his polonium poisoning seemed to be more closely related to what we've seen of what they're alleging sick people are getting from the coronavirus than, say, the cold or the flu or AIDS or any of the other viruses that they attempt to attach as similar to the coronavirus. It like you said, Eric, it acts like a neurotoxin. The flu and AIDS and SARS, they're not going to cause you to convulse, vomit blood, and then die within several minutes of being all right. That's just not going to happen. A neurotoxin like polonium or one of these other bioweapons that can be used in a macro and micro target environment, they seem to be more accurate as to what we're seeing from this alleged coronavirus. I've never seen anybody with a flu or a cold die in these ways that we're seeing.
Right. And thousands die of the flu every year to begin with. And I saw also on the chat room, is this true? Have you heard this? I have not heard this. It's $3,000 to be tested for the coronavirus.
I'm unaware. I'm unaware of anything like that. But I do
go with your health insurance, wouldn't it? I mean,
much. This is why there are these Khazarian mobsters on TV, especially today, talking about universal health care, which is just universal. We all have to pay for everybody to get treatment, even if we don't wish to have this treatment. Like
universal
vaccinations.
Medical doctor care, where it was Benjamin Rush, one of the founders. He was a doctor. He was Surgeon General and one of the signers of the Constitution, said if we don't put a provision in the Constitution for medical freedom, that one side of the medical industry will take over and make it a tyranny. And that's what we see now. Get your vaccinations. Right.
And that's why I like to make very clear I have separated myself from this society. I do not advocate. I do not abide by anything that this government or any of the corporate structures do, because I'm a follower of the Bible and I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. And that may not, it means to me something different than what many people may think that it does mean to me.
But a lot of the things that we're seeing happen right now are it's biblical prophecy. There's so much of it, it's undeniable.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Bible is prophetic. I mean, everything that's made by God is prophetic, and the Bible especially is very steeped in esoteric and occult,
how do you interpret
luminosity.
something like the Bible that's been rewritten and written and rewritten and stepped on and changed around, and certain books were kept out that were very vital? How it's a hard process to determine what's real and what's fake, and because it was canonized by priests and high bishops and those types of people who weren't the best people in the world to begin with. So
right.
It's been.
That's true. They took advantage of the information that has been gathered. The information's not bad, but certainly powerful information will be misused by the wrong individuals who are wielding this power. That's why I say, this is a weapon.
What's your take on some of the other books? And it is a weapon.
Okay, let's get into that.
Like the Book of Joshua or the Dead Sea Scrolls or any of those. What's your take on those?
I mean, then they're like, when I take, for example, the King James Bible or the Tyndale Bible, where it's not just, they go, oh, King James was a Freemason. King James is not a Freemason. King James is above the Freemasons, even under any sort of Freemasonic code. He cannot be of the Freemasonry because the Freemasonry exists only to serve him. So, and again, King James did not write this Bible. He was not the most expert. He was an expert compared to modern day scholars.
Sure.
But he did not gather all of these books. He did not. And when they put together all of the quote unquote Bibles, the Torah, there's a written law, and then there's the unwritten legend. The unwritten legend is the Kabbalah. That's not just for Jewish people or the fake Jewish people of the Ashkenazi persuasion of the 8th and 9th century of Europe. It means of all the kind of people on the earth. We all have the same archetypes that are inside our brains. And then we all have different unique archetypes inside our brains, depending on many different variable factors.
Isn't that interesting that most of the books, whether it be the Kabbalah, the Bible, whatever, they all have the same general principles, whether it be the 10 Commandments or some of the, I often ask, how many wars, how many genocides did Buddha commit? It's mind blowing when you think about some of these things.
Well, I'd like to address that because that's a probing question.
Oh, absolutely.
My belief
I threw it out there.
Is that God made man warlike, so that all the things contained in the Bible are, among other things, allegorical, and they're allegorical of the ancient archetypes in the brains of humanity. We like the light, the daytime. We're safer from animals, from our possible human enemies,
the reptile brain.
Elephants.
Sure.
And that everything is an allegory about the fighting and the war or the struggle, the death and the rebirth of the sun, and the light of the moon and the stars, because everything stems back from the religion of the stars. So everything goes back to that point. So yeah, go to the original source. And these jokers out there, because I hear certain things where they go like, oh yeah, well, magic is evil and the Kabbalah is evil. What Kabbalah? The Kabbalah is the campfire stories of every different group and tribe of people that there are in the world. Now there is a specific Kabbalistic tree of life of a certain sect, but that Kabbalistic tree of life that was taught, and I referenced the teacher, the great teacher of all those things, St. Columba, that's the bastardization of the ancient Irish Kabbalah. referenced by William Russell, A.E. Russell, and William Butler Yeats, and this was what was taught out from west to east. A lot of folks talk about the west to east. That's my belief.
Well, people tend to lump everything together into the same thing, like Freemasonry. Like they're all bad. No, they're not at all. There's different levels, and there's different history, hundreds and thousands of years, and things continue to change. Like Constantine, the person that you have up where it does say specifically in the Bible, you shouldn't put any likenesses of himself up, and yet there's pictures of Jesus up in churches. There's pictures, people put pictures of Jesus up in their house, and that's blasphemy. And that's actually a picture of Constantine, who was a freaking ruler way back in the day. That's Constantine looks strikingly like the pictures that we see of Jesus Christ. So it's all, how do I put this right? Because you got my mind rolling with this right now. But the basic tenets of some of these books are just be a good freaking person.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's much more instructive than just that.
Right.
There's a lot of obfuscation and prevarication that comes out of that, and that's why I like to go to original source. And when a lot of folks, they love to talk about Freemasonry. And again, I've never been initiated in a Scottish Rite Freemason lodge. To me, that's beneath me, because I know what that is. It's inside in my blood. And that these individuals going through all these rituals and motions, they're kind of meaningless, because at the end of the day, they only exist to serve my bloodline. That's
right.
it.
Almost like a fraternity ritual. And most of the people that are low level, they have no idea what's going on in the upper levels. The majority, that's why they call them the 1%. The majority of the people in things like this have no idea what's going on.
They don't have any idea.
Told me, the Red Cross is evil. Now, I understand at the higher levels they are, but at the lower levels, the people that are just volunteering to help, those people aren't evil. They're just trying to help. They have no idea the bigger picture.
They have no idea the bigger picture. They're trying to help, but in attempting to help, they're failing 100%, and they're doing much harm.
But some actually do deliver supplies. They do deliver food. They do deliver certain set. They do help.
And a lot of times they deliver the Ebola virus.
Right. Well, right. Such a shady game, isn't it? When it comes to this.
Right. Well, that's where prevarication and obfuscation comes in. They say we're trying to help when they're really helping with one hand and taking away with both hands.
So many of the low level on the ground people saying something like the Red Cross, they're volunteering and they're not being paid to do it, and they think they're trying to help. But what you're saying is that they could be delivering the exact thing that they're trying to help, think they're trying to help fight against. Interesting.
I would say they certainly are doing that.
Right. For the most part.
I mean, when the UN goes in,
No, the UN is
for peacekeeping.
All levels of the UN are
yeah.
I would compare the UN to the Red Cross, because the UN is just they're entirely evil.
I would say that they work hand in glove most of the time.
With the
Red
Cross,
the Red Cross do.
Right.
And so
agencies.
For example, when the UN goes into Haiti in order to keep peace, what ends up happening is pregnant 11-year-olds by the thousands. So there's no peace being kept when grown men are raping small children, and that seems to be the purpose. So I get back to original when we talk about
we got about 3 minutes left, so let's get to whatever you want to get into for the last 3 minutes.
Just real quick, and it doesn't even have to be the last 3 minutes. When I talk about certain things, I'm going back to original source. When we talk about Freemasonry, I referenced it earlier. The original source is what? The old York Constitutions of 926. According to what? Mackey's Jurisprudence of Freemasonry. So I'm not saying I'm a Freemason. I'm not advocating for it. I'm just saying what exactly it is. I've made it very clear. Folks can go back and listen to what I was saying before. Accordingly, I'm leaving out a lot. Prince Edwin, not the king, the king's prince, Edwin, summoned all the Masons in the realm, this is 926 AD, to meet in a congregation at York, who came and composed a general lodge, which he was Grand Master, and having brought with them all the writings and records extant, some in Greek, some in Latin, some in French, and other language. I'm sure that's Gaelic, ancient Irish, that's most of this is from. But my point being, this is like the coming together of information.
Tell me the book again so I can write it down.
This is Mackey's Jurisprudence of Freemasonry. And here I'll read the most important thing about the 15 articles and 15 points contained inside of the old York constitutions. Let me see if I can find it. I hopefully can. Oh, okay. They conclude with an additional ordinance, Alia Ordinatio, or ALIAORDINACIO, which declares that a general assembly shall be held every year with the Grand Master at its head to enforce these regulations and to make new laws when it may be expedient to do so, at which all brethren are competent to be present, and they must renew their obligations to keep these statutes and constitutions, which they have been ordained by King Athelstan and adopted by the Grand Lodge at York. And this assembly further directs that in all ages to come, the existing Grand Lodge shall petition the reigning monarch to confer his sanction on the proceedings. And as I referenced before, the year of the Great Synagogue at Duke's Place, London, coincides 1722 with the year that all of that changed, where it just went from being a literal agreement between the officers, including the nobility and the knights and the skilled literal Masons, not the speculative Masons. That's in 1722. It went from being a contract with the leadership of the realm that the king must have a particular contract with, to a completely speculative body that has been manipulated by this quote-unquote synagogue of Satan bloodline.
20 seconds, Chris.
17.21.
Oh, did you get through the whole point? That was awesome.
That's it.
And I was taking notes again. So we're signing off. Do you want to come back on next week with Robbie Dee, because his views about the Israelites and yours are completely polar opposites, and it would be a great debate.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I wish to get the facts out there. I mean, again, I can't take credit for the facts.
Before we go, let's see. We're just about off, but when I first came into contact with Chris, it was on a show with Adam Green, and I used to like Adam Green. I followed him. He used to speak out against Israel, and I watched you systematically destroy him. And I'm like, I got to see what this is all about, because he must be a bad guy, right? Because he's destroying a guy I like. But what we found out later is that he actually took a pilgrimage with Jake Morphonius to Israel. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks to all the chatters, especially for coming out here. Chris Dorsey, always a pleasure. Robbie Dee, and thanks to Revolution Radio, #1 listener supported radio station in the world. We'll see you next week for a debate about the truth.
Hey, thanks, Eric.
Yes, thank you. We'll see you next week.
All right.
Welcome to the resistance. Peace.